Hi, my name is George Okwabong. I am a senior lecturer at the Department of Food Science, Nutrition and Technology, the University of Nairobi. I do research and I also train people on food safety and food quality. And I'm here to take any question related to COVID-19 and transmission through food. For any question that goes into that line, I will be glad to answer you. Thank you very much. So the question about the virus being spread through food, I think it is important for us to begin by looking at the virus itself, because as you can see, the diagram is showing the virus that is causing the COVID-19. And you can see that under normal circumstances, the virus has got protein spikes, which are illustrated in red, which are responsible for attaching themselves to the receptors, which are usually found in the lungs, the nose, and the cells that are inhabiting these areas. These are normally the epithelial cells. These proteins, if you can see, and has been indicated by many researchers, are embedded in the surface membrane. And this is made, the surface membrane of COVID-19 is of SARS-CoV-2 is made of lipids. And so this type of virus is typically very different from the normal foodborne viruses that we know, such as norovirus, hepatitis A, which are non-enveloped viruses that do not have any lipid membrane. They are usually just protein in nature. And so the lipid membrane that is in this virus is very susceptible to detergents, soaps, and sanitizers, and also to any harsh environment. And such as that is found in the stomach, we have a lot of acid in the stomach. We are talking of a pH of about 2. And so these chemicals and harsh environments disrupt the lipid membrane, also disrupt the spike protein that are required to successfully infect our cells, because the stomach acid inactivates the virus. It cannot be transmitted through food. That is one important information to know. And secondly, the virus, why the virus is not associated with food, generally we know, or primarily, the virus is spread through respiratory droplets. And that is when somebody coughs, when somebody sneezes, and sheds of the virus through the droplets in the air. And that's why prolonged contact between people who are infected and uninfected are the primary cause of COVID-19 infection. So as we speak now, the global numbers are at 25 million plus confirmed cases of COVID-19. And so the public health officials around the world have been doing a lot of work, because there have been a lot of opportunities to do research, to do contact tracing, understand how someone who caught COVID-19 actually got it. So where are they at this moment? Who did they contact? What did they eat? What did they touch? What they have found up to now, epidemiological work, is the primary route of infection is actually through respiratory droplets during close contact between people. The virus is transmitted through respiratory droplets, which are generated when we talk and when we laugh, and even when we cough or sneeze. So the bigger the droplet from the mouth, the more the virus it contains, because it already contains the COVID-19, which is being shared by the infected person. But because the droplet is bigger, then it falls immediately because of gravity. Now, the smaller the droplets, the farther it can go from the person shedding it. However, because they are smaller, they have got less load of the virus. So even though they can take a little longer, they have less virus. So at the moment, we don't know what the infectious dose of the virus that causes COVID-19 is, but you want to be exposed to the virus as little as possible. So we have to take care, and that's why you are told to keep your distance. If you are in close contact with an infected person, closer than 6 feet, you will be exposed to a lot of those big droplets that contain a lot of the virus, and you will probably become infected with COVID-19. Some droplets may travel beyond 6 feet. So if you are spending a prolonged amount of time around someone who is infected with COVID-19, even if you are more than 6 feet away from them, then you will be exposed to a lot of small respiratory droplets. Eventually, the amount of virus they carry can add up to something that you can cause infection, which is why the recommendation is to avoid prolonged contact, close contact. So under theoretical models, COVID-19 could be transmitted through contaminated surfaces, but as has been indicated by the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention, put out a statement that this path of transmission is less likely to occur. And because the reason is this: a person is not likely to sneeze or cough on surfaces. The most likely scenario is that they sneeze and cough on their hands, and then they touch the surfaces. So the transfer rate of the virus from the contaminated hand to the surface of the food is low. Only a small number of the virus particles would be transmitted to it. So the virus would also begin to die off because it is not stable in an adverse environment. When someone else comes along and touches the surface, they touches the same food package, on even small number of virus particles would be transferred to their hand, and then the person would need to touch their face, and the virus particles would need to go into the mucous membrane in the eyes, nose, mouth, to cause the infection. So all this taken together, this is a very unlikely chain of events, which is the reason why contaminated surfaces like food packaging are less likely to be involved in transmission of COVID-19, because COVID-19 transmission is not associated with food or food packaging. You should feel comfortable in this scenario to eat without any problem. So we also need to know the key symptoms. What we see when it comes to key symptoms associated with the COVID-19, these are like cough, sneezing, fever of more than 100 degrees Fahrenheit, that is about 38 degrees Celsius, the muscle pain, shortness of breath, difficulty in breathing, sore throat, and loss of smell and taste. These are the main symptoms. And of course, there are many which have been associated with COVID-19 as we speak today, and some are isolated. And of course, depending on the region and the person. Only occasionally then do we hear reports of diarrhea as a rare symptom associated with COVID-19. But this is not because the virus has made its way through an infected person's stomach and digestive tract with food. It is because the initial respiratory infection from the virus that causes a systemic infection spreading through the bloodstream into the intestines of the infected person is causing the virus to shed off in the feces. So it is not a foodborne, and that we should be able to get clear. And somebody may also ask, what about transmission through packaging? But again, COVID-19 is not a foodborne illness, as we continue to see across the divide. There is no evidence that COVID-19 is transmitted through food or food packaging. So feel safe to take a bite and not worry about COVID-19. Just be sure that you are not eating that delicious food around a bunch of other people in close proximity. And I think you will be okay. And that is what I want to submit to you on this matter. Thank you very much.